Hello, everyone. I'm really excited about what we're going to practice today because I find it really, really useful and helpful. And this strategy actually reminds me of another time I had to use a strategy. How many of you out there like baked goods? I love baked goods. I love trying new things. I love baking new things and trying out new recipes. And so I tasted a beautiful flaky croissant and I was like, I want to be able to make this. But I don't think I could have just gone into my pantry and pulled out butter, flour, sugar, mixed it together and had a perfect croissant, right? I knew that wasn't going to work. So I took a class. And in this class, I had someone who was an expert break it down for me step by step and tell me what I needed to do to make a perfect or almost perfect croissant. And so when these people are teaching the classes, they're using what they know from their experience. They're looking at what professional people do, what works, what doesn't work, and they break it down step by step for you so you can make a croissant. And you know what? That croissant was pretty good when I was able to follow some instructions and break it down step by step. So it's the same thing that when we're doing something for writing, for math, or another academic area, we can look at what experts, professionals have done before and take what's worked for them and try it out ourselves. So today I want to give you a strategy to help us write responses about a text. And what I like about the strategy is it doesn't just make you a better writer, it also makes you a better thinker, right? Because when we're having to write out our ideas and really explain ourselves, we're having to really think about why do we think what we think, right? Why do we think this is the best answer? And it challenges us as well. So I'm really excited. So the strategy we're using is called RACE. And it's an acronym. So I'm not asking you to just like race to get it done. That wouldn't work. But RACE stands for, RACE is an acronym. So each letter stands for something else. And RACE is a helpful tool that helps us write open-ended responses. And so why should you use this? Well, it teaches us to do what good writers do naturally. Just like I learned from people who had gone before me and what good bakers had done before. We looked at what other writers have done and what they have done well. And we're like, okay, this is what we can do, what we can copy to be strong writers. So when you're answering a question, and whether that is a question for reading or for science or for social studies, you can use this strategy. So when you're answering, you want to restate the question in a complete sentence. You want to answer all the parts of the question, cite evidence from the text by explaining how your evidence supports your answer. So you might have picked up on what RACE stands for, right? R stands for restate the question or part of the question. A is to answer all parts of the question. C is to cite evidence from the text. E is explain your answer. E can also stand for elaborate on your thinking, edit your work, or end. There's a lot of things that E can stand for that we want to think of after we cite our evidence. So restate, answer, cite, and explain. This is what we need to stop doing. This is what we shouldn't do. So many times a question will be asked, like, what is the theme of the story? Friendship. That's awesome. All right, friendship. Well, how do I know that that's a great answer? How do I know that you've even thought about it? Have you thought about it at all? You could have picked any word and just placed it down, right? That's not a quality response. This is not going to work. This is what we should see instead. What is a character trait that describes the main character? How do you know? Let's see if this is done better than our first one, right? So instead of just saying helpful, that wouldn't be a very good answer, right? Let's see what a good answer might look like. A character trait that describes the main character, John, is curious. I know this because in the beginning of the story, he was always getting in trouble for asking so many questions and daydreaming. This explains how I know that John was curious. Much better. Still could use some work, but much better. So let's put it into practice. So we're going to practice the RACE strategy with a nonfiction text. And this nonfiction text is about this adorable creature. So first I'm going to read the text to us, and then we'll answer the question. A little pygmy possum has been found in the Kangaroo Island off the coast of Australia. The pygmy possum is one of the smallest possums in the world. It might also be one of the cutest. There were fears that the little pygmy possum had disappeared from the island. Huge wildfires, called bushfires, destroyed the island a year ago. The fires destroyed most of the possum's habitat. A habitat is a natural environment in which an animal lives. It's the first record of the species surviving after the fire, Hodgkin says. The fires burned through 88% of the possum's predicted range. An animal's range is where it is expected to be found. Hodgkin says the group wasn't sure what the effect of the fires would be, but it's pretty obvious the population would have been severely impacted, he says. And I found this from Mozilla. So our question is, according to the text, why was it such a positive discovery for scientists to find a pygmy possum? The first thing we're going to do is restate the question. And we're going to break all of these things down step by step, but I'm just going to show you an example of how you could answer one of these questions using race. Finding a pygmy possum was a positive discovery because, so I restated the question, check, now I'm going to answer the question. Scientists were not sure if any pygmy survived the Australian wildfires. So here I've restated the question and I've answered it, right? Why was it so positive? You can find that out in my answer, right? Because they weren't sure if any had survived. So my next step is going to be to cite evidence. According to lines 6 through 7, the fires destroyed most of the possum's habitat. So I cited evidence by telling exactly where I found it as well. There were numbers next to each line, so I said where I found my information. That makes it more reliable. Now I'm going to explain my evidence and how it supports my answer. If its habitat was destroyed, it is very likely that the possums were destroyed with it. So here I'm trying to explain to my reader why I use my evidence, right? If the habitat was destroyed, the pygmy possum would probably have been destroyed. Finding one pygmy possum probably gives the scientists hope that more can be found in Australia. So I added another sentence to make it clear. So let's look over that one more time. Instead of just saying, according to, why was it such a positive discovery for scientists to find pygmy possum, instead of just saying, because they were scared they were gone, I did something like this. Finding a pygmy possum was a positive discovery because scientists were not sure if any pygmy survived the Australian wildfires. According to lines 6 through 7, the fires destroyed most of the possum's habitat. If its habitat was destroyed, it is very likely that the possums were destroyed with it. Finding one pygmy possum probably gives the scientists hope that more can be found in Australia. Much better, right, than just saying because they thought they were gone, right? I've explained my answer. I've given evidence to support it. This is a great answer. So we're going to break it down into little parts. So over the next week, you're going to be looking at the different letters and different parts of race and practice each letter so that you can become a race or a racing expert. So readers, writers, go ahead and get started. And I'm excited to see how you grow throughout this process.